All of my Savage Mind podcast, Savage Mind Designs, Savage Lifestyle supporters. If that is merchandise in the past, if that's following my training journey and my purpose in this life, if that is this podcast, most importantly, be for this right now. Any kind of support is appreciated. If that's subscribing, following, sharing, being a follower. Remember my description in the past podcast about the difference between followers and someone and the people that's following. You might be following it, but if you listen to 1 month or more, you're considered a follower, and I appreciate that. Between Apple Podcast and Spotify, I have about 200. Ironically, less than 5 of those people actually subscribe. So let me get this out of the way. Again, I'm going to keep driving it home. $5 to $10 a month. You can even do a $1 a month. Got to put your debit card in. These video podcasts now are going on YouTube. You don't see my equipment in front of me. I'm experimenting with different locations in my home and other places until, again, yes, I have more resources, have more time, and get that room and that makeshift studio functional and efficient. Not for me. I can handle just about anything. For guests to come on that makes them comfortable, especially if they've never been to my home or we've never did a podcast together. And not trying to impress nobody. Don't give a fuck what people think. But you still want it to still make people comfortable. And it's not there yet. So that's where your subscriptions come in. That's how I get on other platforms. That's how I get my name out there. That's how more people hear this message, is subscribing. As always, won't stop me. I'm going to do more, not less. So I'm experimenting with lighting, and again, I don't have a mansion, nor do I care if I have it. I have to utilize what I have. Today I got a few of my dogs in the background. They're back there resting. Love them. I have too many, no doubt. But I do the humane thing. And the right thing to do is my responsibility, and I didn't take care of a few things, so I ended up with a lot more than I planned for, and this has happened more than once. So they are some of my best friends. I try to take the best care of them I can with my resources. If I had more resources, they would have their own room and they would have better care. But in the meantime, I still take the best care of them to my ability. I get behind on a few things, but I rotate a few of them in and out. See, this is keeping it real. How much more real can you keep this for the things I'm saying? I don't know if you can see them. One's on the couch, one's on the floor, one's on the recliner. The one in the recliner doesn't go outside. She stays in the house. The one on the floor goes in and out. The one in the couch, we rotate a few of them in and out. That way there's not too many in the house at once. The ones that are housebroken, some of them are not. Still working on that. So, something else you'll notice in my podcast most of the time, as you see my face by myself, and you will see with the when I have guests on going in the future. There's not very often you're going to see me on my day-to-day life, because my day-to-day life, I'm usually either working my full-time job, I'm either training, running errands, working on my home. So I'm usually grinding all the time. So I usually got clothes on that either looks like I'm on my way to go work out, just got off of work, on my way to work, or whatever. And most of those clothes you will see me in most of the time. Everything that I even wear is almost manifested. Nearly everything that I wear day to day, with the exception of dress clothes, depending on where we're going, depending on the entire day-to-day shit, I almost always got on someone else's brand that I believe in, small business, someone that is in alignment with my goals. Our goals are in alignment of the same thing, or I'm in support of them, or they're in support of me, or something I've earned. Pay attention to nearly everything I wear, especially my t-shirts and hats. You'll see me in this hat. This is not the only one I have. I have about 3 of these. This is Body Legacy. Big shout out to my boy. This is his brand. Been a big supporter of mine. We support each other equally. Even if we don't see each other in person, even if we go months without talking, we have never spent a credible amount of time together in person at all. But our goals and our life and our mindsets are in alignment. So we don't always have to have a conversation. Been with this guy one time in person. And that's how much we connect and vibe. You ever ask ourselves why that we're around people our entire lives? Or we take big gaps and we see them later. Maybe we thought that we were this damn close and all of a sudden that we're not connected no more. Some of the people we connect with later in life. Depending on how much we grew, we've evolved, and how much we've changed. Our goals being in alignment. We're supposed to be who we are. Life is about growing older. Growing, not getting older. When you start aligning with people that are on the same path that you are, even if it's different goals. When your goals are in the same realm. The right people gravitate to you and you gravitate to them, you gravitate to each other. Because some of the people I've met later in life, maybe the last even 5 years, say 10, 5, even the last couple, sometimes this is what we don't want to accept sometimes. Sometimes the people we've known the least amount of time, that we've spent the least amount of time with, are the ones we're connected to with the most, because the thing is, doesn't mean we don't care about them people from the past, doesn't mean that they don't care about us, but sometimes our goals and our plans and our lifestyle in general are just not in alignment anymore. And it's hard to come to terms with. It was for me at one time too. This is his brand of stuff, Body Legacy, my Body Legacy. This was one of the many shirts you'll see. I don't wear this shirt much because it doesn't fit right. This was my last Ultra in April. Wild Canyon Ultra, Caprock Canyon, Texas, close to Palo Duro Canyon. Was my first Canyon Ultra. It was about my counting remote ultras since I dived into this in March of 2021, all the years of running. Again, it's not what this podcast is about. I had never decided to go outside those parameters again. I decided to go outside those parameters of running, and then it opened up a whole new community and network for me. I'm still considered a rookie. I will be a rookie for a long time. But this was about my 8th Ultra in about 2 years. And this is going to be very important. I'll talk about this again later in the training podcast. This was my first DNF. Did not finish. There's probably more of that coming. That is never the plan, but in this kind of life, in this kind of grind, it's coming for everyone, and we don't know when it's coming. Back in April, I did this, and I thought I was trained up. I had been battling injuries. I had done that type of terrain in a smaller scale, but never that magnitude of. And I decided a little bit over my halfway point to pull myself from the race, because I felt like I was putting myself, my wife, my mamacita, and some of the other. You're my dog right there. Hey, it's been one hell of a fucking summer. No, I can't have all them in here at one time, so I'll rotate them. Besides the ones that stay in the house permanently. He's in here getting a break, cooling off. Hey. Drink some water. Now he's dreaming. Big old baby. Anyway, I decided to pull myself from the race after about 8 or 9 hours out there, and I was right at 35 miles or under, and a lot of thousands of feet of elevation. I decided to pull myself from the race. We'll meet again. Not necessarily that race, but we'll meet again. It's in the next 24 months. We'll meet again. So, as you know, this is the format I'm doing right now until I get to the next format of my podcast. Some people only hear the audio, some people hear the video. If you want to see this video, you have to go to YouTube. Second mimosa today, and I got to get back to work. So let me jump on this. I want to talk about this because this is something I get on regularly. Like I do a lot of things. Yes. Two things I really try to stay away from: religion and politics. I don't want to talk about them anywhere, really. I'm really not trying to, when I say talk about religion, I'm not trying to criticize or attack anybody else's religious or political beliefs, and I'm not trying to defend my own. Is that fair enough? Trying to give my perspective and experience in life. And so I just did this post here today or yesterday here recently where I train at and run at locally. Not that I don't appreciate, I've been training there for over 20 years. Not because I'm tired of seeing the same shit. I'm tired of seeing the same people, and we're making adjustments to work on that. So, and we're not there yet. We're on our way. When I get heavier into my training in a few weeks, you'll hear me talk about going to other places around. I live about 40 miles south of Dallas. I'll be going to other places to give me a change of scenery, a change of view, and it helps my mental state just to see something different. 4 or 5 days a week, I train at the trail, hike and bike trail at our park. Not that I don't do this mileage every day. Some days it's 2, some days it's 3, some days it's 20. Nevertheless, the whole trail, the way if I do one whole lap there and back, I can make about 8.2, 8.3 miles out of it. Starting point there, loop around and back. That's good. That means if I'm doing a virtual challenge, I said remote, I meant virtual challenge earlier. That means I can do 2 laps, a little over 16 miles. I've been going to that park since I was a kid. Over 40 years I've been going to that park. The hike and bike trail where people run and bike, whether you're off course or you're on the concrete, the paved concrete. I only train on the dirt trail, the rocks, the rugged terrain. When it's cool enough, the snakes go in for hibernation. I hate running on concrete. I'm not a concrete runner. I'm not a road runner. This time of year, until I know that I don't see anymore for a while, I stay on the pavement because there are copperheads and cottonmouths everywhere. I don't even take my chance. You're tired, you're fatigued, you're running leaves, grass, dirt. You don't even see a copperhead. So, nevertheless, you have about 3 or 4 spots as a trailhead where you can start. Depending on where you start, depends on how far you want to go. You can start at the beginning, do the whole thing. You can start halfway. It's about 4 miles. You can do whatever you want to. For years, there's been Jehovah's Witnesses out there. They set up the little display at the trailheads. They don't just do it on weekends. They do it during the week. These people are relentless. I don't know that I've ever been an outright asshole to them. And I'm not picking on this religion. I'm going to get to that in a minute. It's that sometimes it's the same people, sometimes it's different people. This morning when I trained, they had them at 3 different trailheads, different people, 2 people. They don't smother you, but they never seem to get the hint. People are out there training. They're with their families. They're walking their kids. They're walking their dogs. There's a dog park. They don't take no for an answer. I just posted this today, or whenever it was, yesterday, today. If y'all are relentless with your goals and about changing your life as Jehovah's Witnesses are, y'all have a totally fucking different outcome. I've had to get a little bit sideways with these people. A couple of times I was in the middle of a race or a virtual challenge. The only reason for this is because couple of particular people, I know they recognize me. I'm one of the most familiar faces on that trail because I've been out there over the last 20 years. Probably, I would say, I've probably logged in more miles out there than the top 4 or 5 people. That's the truth. There's no way you go to that trail and don't see me out there a few days a week. These people, a couple of these people I had already fucking told to leave me alone in a nice way. I didn't have to get on my spiel, and I will get on my fucking spiel. And I did get on my spiel about a week ago because they wouldn't take no for an answer. So then I fucking started going down that rabbit hole, and they wasn't ready for it. I'm not going to get all into that today, but this wasn't because it was the first time, the second time, it was the third time. A couple of these individuals, they see me out there 4 or 5 days. They're out there 3 or 4 or 5 days a week, and they wouldn't take no for an answer. I was getting a drink. I was tying my shoe. I was adjusting my playlist, and they came up with that bullshit again. Let me tell you something. Any religion, and again, this is what a lot of religious people say. It's not about religion, it's about God. True. If that's the premise you're speaking from. That's true. That's usually the perspective from Christianity. And what I'm speaking from is, I'm not saying what I am either way. That does not matter. It does not matter what I think. It does not matter what you think. A lot of people don't understand what free speech is. Those people have the right to do that. They don't have the right to bother people. After you've politely told them to, no, you're not interested. If you say, no, you're not interested, to a lot of religious groups, they think that you must be going to hell, or you're a Satanist, or in the cult, or a devil worshiper. We'll talk about this in another podcast, because I'm going to follow up more than once on this. This is too deep a subject not to go down. To me, almost every organized religion is a cult. This means Satanist. Religious people get free passes to often shove shit down your throat. Now, by the same perspective, what's going on in society with a lot of different things, I'm not right, I'm not left, I'm somewhere in the middle. I think both sides are fucked up. A lot of things that'll be pushing down our throat with advertisement, with certain things in the, our whether it be religion, whether it be certain things with gender. It doesn't matter what we don't have to agree. It doesn't mean we have to hate each other and attack each other. But there's a lot of shit being shoved down our throats. And what I've dissected through what I lived in an earlier life, and where I'm at now with my self-education and experience, yes, is religion is often a free pass in so many ways that people let people buy. So just to give you in a nutshell, this is just hitting some bullet points. What, especially a lot of, again, not attacking no one's religion, people from a religious perspective, especially a Christianity perspective, is they'll say it's not about religion, it's about your relationship with God. So just to clear this up, some people hear me talk that don't know me, and they'll think that until I start to look, I don't sit around and study religious doctrine all the time, but I've studied just enough religious doctrine, the Bible, and other things outside of those parameters. And what I know for sure in my day-to-day life, and in general, the people I have met throughout my life that I know related to them, blood, in-laws, or just friends, co-workers, whoever it is, most that, again, not criticize you, not judging you, unlike what some religious people do, which is the total opposite. I've told multiple people this, most especially the elders. This is the truth, that got that doctrine at a young age. Hold on to your seats on this one. They don't have self-education outside of that doctrine because they are terrified to study anything outside of that. That's why they always quote scripture. There are a lot of different religions in the world. No matter if we agree with it or not, we have to respect people's right to the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, or freedom from religion. That's not the way most religious people speak. What I get is they think they can talk to you about anything in the name of God or their religion. But if you get ready to talk about your lifestyle, what you're about, that you don't have the same rights that they do. They don't say it. Y'all sitting here listening to this, whether you consider yourself a Christian or a religious person or you're not, you know this is true. Doesn't mean we have to attack them, but we have the same. And when I say we, again, I'm trying to speak for everybody. Makes no difference what I am or what I'm not. You have to let everyone speak as long as it's not hurting anyone or it's not the exploitation of children. Everyone has the right to free speech. You have no more right to push your religion and to use religion or God as an excuse than no one else does. If someone else wants us, we don't have to agree with it. I hate a lot of this stuff going on with what's going on with the gender, with what stuff with kids. I'm not getting into that today. We have the right to whatever religion we want to, whatever sexual preference we want to, the freedom from religion, however we want to live our life, how we want to dress, anything. And I am about that. Whatever music we want to listen to, whatever food we want to eat, whether you want to be a vegan, I'm all across the board. If you know me, you can pick this apart however the fuck you want to. I don't care. My religious background. And I'll have to get into the rest of this in the next video. A lot of them think that I don't have any religious structure or Christianity, or I don't know anything about the Bible. But this is the truth. Most people who don't have any education outside of that, not saying we're smarter, most of them aren't ready for a conversation with us. Because again, we choose to educate ourselves outside the parameters of just that, because people like me had questions. We didn't when we were kids, a lot of us were just told because of who said it, because if they were an elder, a man of the cloth, because they were a teacher, because they were a Sunday school teacher, because they were a pastor, because they were a law enforcement official, whatever it was, we were told not to question that. And I questioned it. And I went and studied myself outside of that. How extensively depends on who I'm conversating with. But I notice a lot of these people I get in conversation with, they always go back to Scripture. They go back to Scripture because they don't know where to go from that. So, the mindset I remember and that I know now was to scare you and terrify you from going outside of that. Like if you listen to someone who's an atheist but's not promoting atheism, that they might pull you in. Or if you listen to rock and roll, you're going to get into devil worshiping. All that shit I realize is fucking nonsense. It's always been nonsense. I can listen to anybody across the board, regardless of their religious background, if they're religious or not, whatever their political beliefs are. I don't have to agree with them, but I find what is the takeaway I'm getting from them. I can go down the list. I listen to a variety of people, and what I listen to is I find something in each one of them that I find value in. And the thing is, if you're that easily pulled in, like a lot of people are, yes, no matter how strong your Christianity is or your religion is, some of you are so easily pulled in, and that's why you're scared to go outside of that. We'll talk more about that later. I can study a lot of different people, and it has no effect on me. That's called real sustainable discipline. It's mental discipline above physical discipline. It's not even comparable. My background. I was raised primarily with my one mother, one grandmother. Grandmother's been dead since I was about 23. Only grandparent I had. Mom's been dead for 5 years. Just a few days ago, she's been dead for 5 years. My mom's side of the family, because that's who I spent the most time with growing up. I didn't reconnect with my father's side of the family until I was in my late 20s, maybe. No. I'll take that back. Until I was around 20 years old, and then the rest of them late 20s, 30s, because my father was killed when I was 4. My mom's side of the family, very much fundamental Southern Baptist. That's the only way I remember my grandmother. And I spent an incredible amount of time with her growing up. That was like my other mother. So believe me, I'm very aware of it. And then in my earlier life, I was involved in the Baptist church. My kids went to those churches. So believe me, there's people out there that have a lot more knowledge on that matter than I do, but I have enough knowledge on that matter. From childhood to current day, and I have other things I've studied outside of that. Not necessarily religious, but outside those parameters. Because we're supposed to ask questions. We're supposed to challenge authority. We're supposed to challenge authority figures, especially how it's translated and distributed to us, and that's why they don't like people like me. You have no more right to push your religious propaganda down anyone's throat. No one does. Then anyone else does something else, regardless if we agree with it or not. Need to get up on part 2 on this. See, listen to that. Small towns, man. You got these guys. They think they got to have loud pipes on fucking everything. We live off of a main road. It doesn't matter if I'm in my podcast studio, if I'm in the bedroom, if I'm in the kitchen. Until I get that done and get a real studio, it don't matter how much sound control foam I put up. I'm not gonna drown it all. I mean, it's a macho, somewhat redneck thing. It's just not picking on them. It's just a guy thing. It's something that's fucking annoying to me. It's always some kind of shit. I want you to hear me. I want you to see me. People that need to be seen and need acknowledgement and need likes, need someone to hear them or see them all the time in that kind of way. Look at me people, pick me people. They don't have real confidence. I don't care how good they look, women or men. Nevertheless, I want to get back into this. I'm going to do a follow-up video on this. And the reason I've been doing this lately is because I feel like I got behind on what I wanted to do. And the more I podcast, the more I want to podcast, the more it connects. The more I put things together, the more I'm talking, the more I want to read, the more I train, the more I want to train, the more I want to do a lot of things. It's kind of like movement. The more you move, the more you want to move. The more you don't move, the more you don't care if you move. A body in motion stays in motion. A body at rest stays at rest. So, in the meantime, please support. Even if you don't share, please go subscribe. Spotify, Apple Play, YouTube now. Again, my YouTube channel needs to be reformulated, but you can see these videos on there. I need you to go subscribe. On Spotify and Apple Play, you can click the link at the bottom. It'll say support this podcast. You go click on it. It should prompt you to give you the directions and prompt you to be able to subscribe. Like people like me are really appreciative. Like today, I'm just doing it from a part of my living room. I'm about to go outside, and the heat's a little bit more bearable today, and go do a little bit of work what I can before I call it a day and get back at it tomorrow. This is how I spend most of my weekends. If we don't have plans, or we're not on vacation, and that really hadn't happened this year. I'm grinding on something to build another life, so I don't have to spend my whole life doing it. Doesn't mean I'm ever going to be rich. It means I'm going to have options and opportunity. Y'all stay humble and live savage. Love y'all.